Okay, great. So it's 5:31. To order, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:31. Any quorum, I guess.
Since we have a few people around, can we do some introductions?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Carl, you want to start with proper introduction?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Carl Chimity, Senior Project Architect with Proviso Township.
Gerard Jenkins, Project Manager with Gilbane.
Michelle McClendon, Senior Executive for Gilbane.
David?
Oh, I'm sorry, David Bennett. I am the IT associate here at PMSA.
LT Taylor, Director of Operations.
Samuel Valtierrez, our board president.
Fish Mode Superintendent.
Luke Pavoni, Deputy Superintendent.
Marshawn Chambers, Administrative Assistant to the Director of Operations.
Great. So we have quorum. Any citizens' comments? No citizens' comments? Okay. Did you send me those minutes this summer before? Oh, they're here.
Yes, they're in there too.
Yeah, approve them on, no.
You did.
Okay, yeah, so they're approved then. All right. Just to reiterate that. So both minutes were approved. Okay, great. We'll proceed with the updates. These wasn't, yeah, so.
So we'll go ahead and get started with purpose of Will F&P updates.
Great. So our update today is really focused around a series of potential projects that the Proviso East administration suggested to LT and the design and construction team for evaluation at the Proviso East Fieldhouse. These represent a variety of finish and functional improvements, as well as just replacing some aging infrastructure as well. There is one item here, just to preface this, that is not addressed to this, that we are still studying, and that is the accessible chair lift at Proviso, at the field house. I believe that would be the northwest stair, if I'm correct. Yeah. And so that's something that we will be in the future establishing a design narrative and providing to Gilbane for estimation. So I'll just walk through the projects we have here. I did include Gilbane's budget estimate, but I'll let them kind of respond to the comments on the cost estimate. Right now, these projects, if the district would like to proceed with them, it's anticipated these would be summer 2026 projects. As we're already in March 2025, it would be probably a little bit difficult to get them fully designed, outfitted, and constructed in the summer 2025 time. So starting right off the bat with bleacher replacement, the feedback we got is that these bleachers are aged. They're showing their age. And so the project here would be to replace 7 to 8 rows of roughly 170 linear feet of retractable gymnasium bench seating on both sides of the main competition floor at the Fieldhouse Gymnasium. We would go back with either a motorized or a manual retractable bleacher stand, and there's a lot of options that can be configured here. From guardrails, there would be accessibility improvements in terms of designated spots for wheelchairs and an accompanying person per modern accessibility code. There's also branding opportunities, so things like the pirate logo can be incorporated into the end of the bleacher. But by and large, that is what that project would entail. So,
related to the existing seat quantity and the projected seat capacity?
it would be within a few seats. You would lose a few just because per accessibility code that's currently in effect and provides designated wheelchair spots, and those do take up more space than just your typical 18-inch wide linear bleacher per occupant. But it would be roughly the same. There may be some opportunity to extend it a foot or two on each side to try to keep as much of the existing capacity as possible.
Does this price, 1.3 mil, does that include a facelift for the building? I mean, for
This is bleachers only.
bleachers only? Yes.
So the bleachers that you see here, take those out and go back with new bleachers.
That's expensive. I didn't know that was that expensive.
Yeah.
they do need replacement, I didn't know.
Are they salvageable at all?
We didn't study them necessarily with that in context.
Got it.
I mean, you know, there are wood components, so you can maybe try to refinish the wood, but, you know, retractable bleachers do, you know, parts break down over time, and I don't see a lot of projects, honestly, where they try to salvage or refresh existing bleachers using as a full
If I
replacement.
may, the labor to try to refinish the wood and or remove the padding and reinstall the padding would outweigh the benefits of just removing and purchasing.
Do you know how old these bleachers are?
I do not.
You're way older than I am in this district, which I've been here 28, 29 years.
What's the useful life of bleachers?
You know, about that, it really depends on the intensity of use. I mean, for a high school, you know, this is your main field house, competition field house, they probably get used fairly intensely. So 28, 30 years is, that's it.
You got your money's worth.
Yeah, you got your money's worth out of those
And
bleachers.
so if we go with new bleachers, how long are they insured for, or guaranteed for?
The typical warranty is for 1 year, what we call parts and smarts. But we can look into, depending on what the school would like, an extended warranty for them and what those costs are associated with it. But the typical is 1 year.
Yeah, and manufacturers often offer longer warranties than that, so we'd have to see what the industry standard manufacturer warranty is for that.
So is this an engineer's estimate?
This is
So
building
that's
adjustment.
what
That's building
Correct.
estimate, okay. Because I know there were, I mean, I guess it's hearsay, there was conversations about doing something with this generator.
Yeah, so this year is the year to do a major remodel or either an extension onto the field house, but we haven't crossed that bridge related to funding yet. So we're still, you know, talking behind the scenes, and I'm sure sooner than later, Mr. Mohip and Dr. Hill will come together.
But this will probably just be in addition to what needs to be done. Would you
Well,
say
yeah,
that?
if there's a
that's just
major
bleachers.
refresh, you know, like the renovations to the field house that have been discussed, for example, as part of the FMP, were either a demolition of the existing field house or a major expansion onto it. And so this would just get absorbed into that cost. You know, there would be construction of a gym track and stuff like that. You would see it, you know, similar to what Proviso West has in terms of its scaling. The next project that we were asked to evaluate, this is actually a number of smaller items that we lumped into a category we just called AV communication upgrades. And so this has, you know, we've gotten feedback and kind of witnessed it. If you go into that field house, snap your fingers or stomp your feet, you can tell it's a very live space, which can be great during a basketball game. It sounds really loud and it gets good energy going. But for voice communication, it makes it very difficult. And so to assist with facilitating the multi-use function of this field house, we've replaced the public address audio system in its entirety. New microphones, loudspeakers, processing amplification equipment. The district could select a number of handheld microphones as well as body pack microphones that they would like. And so this system would be designed by an acoustical consultant that would be able to properly position the loudspeakers accordingly, select the right amplification equipment. In addition to that, there would be some acoustical treatments that, again, we'd work with an acoustician to identify either wall-mounted, ceiling-hung. I think we have a combination thereof included in the scope that we provide to Gilbane, to try to deaden the sound a little bit so that way spoken word can be more clearly understood. We have a lot of hard surfaces and a lot of parallel walls, and that tends to get a lot of reverberation of sound. And so we would look to dampen that so that way you can talk across a court, you can have someone with a microphone talking to a crowd and be understood. And so, so this cost was estimated about $420,000 for this work.
Overall, it looks like so, $4 million job with all the items.
What was the total? What was the total for work?
All in for that, well, 4 million for all of the ones that Carl is going to present, 4,217,000.
The next item is if you've been in that sky bridge, you know it is unconditioned and it gets very, very cold in the winter. And so we were asked to consider a window replacement as well as providing some heat. Discussing with our mechanical engineers about what the most straightforward way to do this would be. Obviously do a window replacement. So we provide new insulated glazing units and then provide some radiant heating panels mounted from the ceiling. And you know, this is a transient space. People don't spend a lot of time in here. That said, you know, it's not a pleasant experience to walk through there when it's 15 degrees out. It's quite frigid there. And so we provide a little bit of heat. You know, we wouldn't try to maintain a typical room temperature there of like 70, but you know, if we could get it in 60s, you know, 50, just get to be a more comfortable temperature when those cold days hit. That would be the goal of that project. So it wouldn't feel like a classroom where you're going to spend an hour in there. It's just a place you walk through for 15, 20 seconds. Okay. Yeah. Then the next item we had was just a full update to the weight and drill room. There is some items that we'll need to work a little bit more closely with the district and the Proviso East athletic and PE staff, as we were requested to include some athletic equipment in there. But the overview of this project would be a finished update to the entire weight room. Drill room, which kind of has a banked floor running track surrounding it. There'd be a new floor and an athletic floor that you would see if you were going to like a typical health club or another weight room where it's a resilient floor that has cushion that you would see in a weight area. We provide a resilient running track around. This would be something typical, again, that you would see. You have something similar called a Mondo floor as the manufacturer. But what you have at Proviso West, so an interior surface appropriate for running. Right now it's just painted concrete. We would also provide a modest AV system down there that would provide TV monitors for communicating to Proviso students. Also allow microphones, again, for communication, either through instructors during class periods or for coaches that are training in this area. New lighting, new paint, an overall floor to ceiling finish upgrade.
How much of this budget of the $985,000 is equipment, and how much is true reconstruction?
Oh,
Sure. One moment. So the way we have it broken down, demolition even in the room is about 50,000. The interior finishes, so that'd be like drywall, paint, things of that nature, 225,000. Specialties or equipment, 37,000, so 37.5. Then electrical lighting, 225, and then AV items that are needed, microphones, etc., 238.
And I would just provide a disclaimer on the equipment budget. That was essentially Gilbane and Perksville, roughly counting what's there, and we would need to really refine that through subsequent discussions. This was just to get an order of magnitude to see, is it a $60,000, $600,000, or $6 million project? Sort of thing. The last item, and this is probably the.
Excuse me, Carl.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
The people online said they can't hear. Can you guys hear now, Ms. Garza? And Dr. Hill says no. I just turned my speaker off. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. So the last item is the one menu item that probably lacks a certain amount of definition that we would go to in the next step. This was an idea that was raised, taking some spaces that the administration feels are underutilized and renovating them to serve a couple different purposes. There's a ticket area, storage area, and an office at the front entry to the field house. We would take these spaces, demolish the walls, clear it out, and create new ticketing areas and create what we're calling a branded environment or a branded area that can provide a little bit more of a grand entry into the Proviso East Fieldhouse. Proviso Township High School's athletics and East specifically have a great story to tell and a history, and this would allow the celebration of that as an entry point into the Fieldhouse. There would be acoustical ceiling clouds, custom millwork displays where trophies, plaques, jerseys can be displayed. There would be a technology component to that, so either highlights, historical clips, things like that can be shown. It could also be a communication item to advertise to students and visitors to the Fieldhouse when upcoming events are taking place. There'll likely be some sort of decorative lighting element to it. So it really is a place-making feature that helps reinforce the identity of the Proviso East Pirate Athletics. As I mentioned, this is something that if we were to pursue, the next step would really be to put pencil to paper and develop plans in greater specificity. We were just asked to put together a square footage and a scope of work, and that's what was provided to Gilbane for estimation here. So I think this starts to get us into the ballpark of the budget and the scope, so that way that can be developed further.
Question for administration. Do we have this money to allocate for this budget?
We would have to talk with Dr. Hill to see where we are. I think I'd also like to have a better understanding of, for all of our renovation needs, construction projects in the district, what's critical that needs to happen and what are some nice to haves, right? So a lot of this, so some of these things I see them as nice to haves, I think some things are critical, right? So, and not just in this presentation, but just for our entire, I know we had the 5-year FMP, we have continued on the additional 5.
Was that on there? Was that, I'm sorry, was that on there?
Some of this stuff was, so like the bleachers, renovation of the vestibules for secure vestibules, that was on there. We did an FMP refresh. We'll revisit it in the next 30 days or so.
I personally been there, and this is really needed. At least, mostly all these things, mostly all these projects. They just kind of, you hit it right on the nail.
The weight room
The question is, I've been there, I was there that day.
That can wait.
Dungeon.
I think what we really have to do is have a good understanding overall of all the projects that exist in the district and then kind of organize them by priority. Yeah. Not saying that none of this should happen, right? But I need to understand this in the scope of the entire context of what is needed in the district.
We'll get it done.
So that's the last item that we were asked to evaluate. Are there any questions about anything I've touched on here?
Just one thing I wanted to speak to, just briefly, that click information that you and I have been walking
Sure.
through. If you could just speak to that really quick.
Yeah, so there are 2 items, one at Proviso West and one at Proviso East that LT brought to our attention that I guess the CLIC representative mentioned and recommended or asked the district to address. At Proviso West, just north of the auto shop, is some sidewalk paving that is settled behind its curb. So the top of curb is here, the sidewalk is here, and I believe they flagged it as a potential tripping hazard and asked the district to remedy that. So we are requesting a proposal from civil engineer to provide design drawings for that can be taken out to bid, to have that remedied, and it would just be a direct addressing of that pavement. We keep the scope pretty tight to addressing that specific need. What's that?
Insurance.
Similarly, at Proviso East, the Circle Drive as well as the flanking sidewalks leading into the building have shown some deterioration. The paving there appears to be fairly aged. The asphalt as well is deteriorated. And so as part of that project, the Circle Drive will be reconstructed, curbs repoured, and sidewalk replaced. We would probably extend that roughly into that westernmost canopy where the science rooms bridge over that drive. And we haven't picked the exact line we'll take there, but it would be the Circle Drive from First Avenue roughly to the building face.
So Luke, that's that main area that you and I have been talking about.
So yeah, we expect to have civil engineer design proposal to us in the next couple of days. Then we'll provide the full proposal for the design work to LT. It's not a huge scope of work, so I don't think the design time will be very long. And we'll work with the district to get that out to bid and procured, with the goal of getting that either performed over the summer. And I think LT mentioned that because some of these areas are lightly utilized, there's a possibility that if it needed to spill into the school year, that could happen, as we are kind of getting late in the bid window for summer 2025 work.
Are you presenting this on the next one?
Sure we can.
I'm just asking.
I didn't plan on it.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they're gonna ask the same question. I'm asking where the money's coming from. Okay, I'm just asking.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
All right, this is the construction manager update for Gilbane. The items that will go off is the construction kickoff for the work being done summer 2025. We have work to be completed over spring break of 2025, in addition to an update on the cameras at East West PMSA and the light pole update over at Proviso West as it relates to the cameras. A construction update and Proviso East PAS update, which is the mechanical systems, and then it's just item number 5 is just a snapshot that totals the projects that Carl just went over, so the financials for that. In terms of the roof replacement, we did receive approval of the roof replacement of the West Main Gym, and so we have contracts are out and completed with the subcontractor for that. We are actively monitoring the roofers union to make sure that they are signing their agreement and ready to get started in June. All things point to positive vibes from the roofing union, and so we should be good with that. I believe we have submittals going over to the district for approval for the roofing. We intend to start June 9th with the mobilization. Stair towers built the second week, or completed by the second week of June. We will start the demolition of the roof of the main gym second week of June, and it will be complete by July 28th. We've got new skylights that are happening over there, again, starting mid-June, done by August 1st, with a substantial completion of August 4th for that West Gym roof replacement.
Related to the June 9th start date, we will not be starting sooner than that, right?
No, we don't have to.
Because we have some facility usage partners that looking to utilize the facility June 2nd and 3rd. Thought we were going to start on the 1st. Okay, and then on the completion side on August 4th, we do have registration that's going to be like really hot and heavy in that area. So if we do foresee any issues with completing at that date, if we can know like sooner than later, as a district we'll have to pivot and make sure that.
Do we know when registration in that area begins?
It will be that first and second week of August.
Okay.
We don't have no hard dates from the building principal, but it's always the first and second week of August.
Fair enough.
Can we help with that and maybe try to get registration and most of us registered, kids registered before summer?
That would be
So
fantastic.
that'll help with this. Just to help out.
Yeah, last year we started,
We started that.
April, May-ish time is when we started, and then I think we even looked at like a late registration option to kind of nudge along, so, yes.
Just to minimize registration. Another question, those submittal packages, what is it? Are there material submittals for district to approve? What, like what?
So the samples of the actual roof installation itself, well, it goes.
Yeah,
to work.
we'll be reviewing and approving those submittals.
Okay.
And we like to keep the district in the loop,
As a team,
but we
yeah.
don't expect the district to approve technical submittals or anything. Yeah.
We get to select the color of the skylights. Sure.
Or just-
Right, yeah, there's
Flashing, all that.
aesthetic choices that need to be made, but yeah, we don't expect LT to tell us what the right type of installation is. You don't have to worry about
Right.
Don't want to overspend.
it.
Okay, next slide. In terms of work happening over spring break, we've got striping work that's happening. Proviso West, the security gates, loop alignment, making sure that entry gate is opening and closing, properly. Proviso East, we've got some exhaust fan and masonry work repair. The bus barn roof work at Proviso East is on the schedule, and then at all of the schools, we will be working with Johnson Controls on the keypad configurations for the security system throughout.
LT for the bus barn, I do have those samples for you to select. So tomorrow, if I can meet with you, I can hand those over.
Works.
Moving right along to the security camera updates for all 3 campuses. This just notes when the training was happening, the punch list is ongoing. We have received a request for some additional cameras and we're reviewing that. But more specifically, the cameras over at Proviso West in the parking lot. While all of that cabling was pulled to the light poles, as they began to install them, they noticed that the light poles there perhaps were not in the best condition to receive cameras mounted to them. So subsequently, we've received a request to replace the light poles over at Proviso West. So we held off on the camera installation for those light poles in the parking lot. So we will get the pricing for the light poles, secure lead times, and then based off of the approval of that particular pricing, we'll go ahead and install the light poles and then come back and complete the camera installation for the parking lot over at West.
So that no parking lot related to the camera project. There's about 10 cameras or 8 cameras or so that's waiting to be installed.
Yes.
Obvious reasons we didn't want to do that work. We didn't have to buy it out to remove that work. The bases on the poles, as Michelle alluded to, has been deemed not safe. Many of the access panels are either missing or just completely deteriorating. So this is some work that we needed to add to the scope. And I'm working with Dr. Hill to find funding for next year. Michelle and her team plan to provide Proviso a professional estimate for the poles, and we will provide that estimate to Mr. Mohit and Dr. Hill for approval, and Mr. Pavante.
So that's just the pole structure, not the structure for the pole, right?
It'd be all of it. The base
So
and
The
the
foundation, the pedestal, and the. So it would be installing products that are identical to what you have here at PMSA or Proviso East.
They have to pull those in, just
So
redrill.
the scope of work would include, right now, we'll need to pull back the cable that we pulled to the existing poles. We will remove the base, the pedestal, and the pole that's there, so demo that, install new ones, pull the cable back, mount the cameras. All right,
That pipe was there? Oh, it's the existing.
We installed it in a previous phase of work.
Oh, okay, when, for the parking lot.
2019.
What's the end of life of use of these cameras? It seems like last time I was here 8 years ago, we had the same thing going on. About 8 years ago.
With cameras?
Yeah, I remember.
So the cameras at Math and Science was installed in 2005, and they just was ripped out.
Oh, this is just for,
No, this is for West too. So West had a upgraded camera project
27.
through Genentech. It was in like 2010, 2012. We did use a lot of that existing Cat 6 cable and just replaced one for one at Proviso West.
How long do we expect these cameras to be operational? We're talking 20 years, 30 years?
When technology is moving,
Yeah,
I would
that's-
say.
I mean, operational, not cutting edge, right?
functional, we expect them to last 20, 30 years. In terms of the technology that's associated with it and the
Right.
advancements in technology, they could be respectfully out of date in 5 years or 10 years, but from a sense of, will they record and view what you want them to see, be angled and things like that, yes, they function in that manner and should for many years to come.
The soft, like any piece of software that you have, I mean, we all experience it across the board. There's an end of life where they stop supporting it, and at that point, whatever functionality you have, it kind of stays there. And yeah, like I said, if I had a crystal ball to predict when technology would happen like that, it'd be value. Yeah, exactly.
We're getting big readers on some of these programs.
We have talked about that with links.
Sorry, what was that?
Plate readers. And, it was one of the, what was the name of the one over at the hillside? Fast Track or Fast Plate or something like that? License plate reader. We're still debating if we want to buy a license.
How much are they?
Is it a license?
It's quite
or
expensive.
is it
I
a
think
camera
we
with
gave the
the
pricing for it a
It's
while
quite
back.
expensive and it's annual. I want to say it was $25,000 a year for about 4 cameras. The good thing about it is,
Are they tied into a system?
yes, and
Police or?
It's a
yes,
global alert
that's the good,
system.
that's the good thing about it, it's tied into the police.
And you can determine what level of security on the system you want, whether it's a federal review or state review or whomever, so I can place in background, and then you determine who you want to be notified if you need a license scan that comes back with a trigger or a background or something that's deemed a potential hazard.
So it's a software that uses images to scan it. Okay. It's not an actual camera dedicated for it.
Can we please review and get pricing for Mr. Mohip to review?
Is that common in our high schools to have plate readers?
It depends on, it is a preference of the district. So we do have some districts that have them. Again, it's with the climate, I will say, of schools. Some are definitely putting towards that. So it's not necessarily whether it's common, it's that if we perceive that to be something that's helpful for the particular district and where they are.
Okay.
Ms. Garza, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have a question in regards to, is there any way we can add like a speaker into the kitchen area? I know we've gone through a few lockdowns, and if we don't have a radio on or if we're busy, we can't hear what's going on if the lockdown is necessary. I know, Mr. Taylor, we had talked about it. I know that they have put the cameras into the school, but I was wondering if there's a way to incorporate that, or was there a speaker in that area at one time? Can we reactivate it?
Yeah, so we're working. Yeah, so we're working with JCI to add 2 speakers to each one of the cafeterias at East and West. Math and science, I do believe you can hear in the kitchen. As soon as I get that information, I'll make sure I pass it on for funding. But we believe it's going to be about magnitude about $11,000 to do that work, which I don't foresee a problem with it. But for sure, we do need some notification devices in that space.
Can we just double check on PMSA, because I don't think we have, I know the last time I was there for the lockdown, we don't have, somebody from security has to come and let us know.
Yep, I
So
will.
we just remind them that to please let us know, because we lock ourselves in one area and there's nothing to be heard or seen. So once those doors are closed in the kitchen, we can't hear anything.
Yep, I'll make sure I put it on the list.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. In terms of punch list at Proviso West and East, it was 100% complete over at West in terms of the items listed in our software for the various categories. We have since received a handful of items from Proviso West from LT facilities that we'll go back and take a look at. And so that's a working list that we're working with LT to review the functionality of a few items over at Proviso West. At Proviso East, in terms of punch list work and the items that were in our software, again provided with collaboration with PDUP, Perkins and Will. This is where we are in terms of punch list, and it's about 98% complete in terms of closing out items in the software. On the next slide, I go into detail about that one, yeah. The Proviso East building automation system and mechanical system, we have been working on repairs of the system for the last several weeks. As of this week, we were doing repairs to the VCUs at Proviso East. We were working with our mechanical subcontractors to work on the full system integration for the controls of the VRF system at at Proviso East. And so this is just a small snapshot of the items that we were working on specifically this week as we continue to work through the controllability of the systems as it relates to the thermostats and mechanical units at Proviso East. Next slide is just a recap of the projects that were gone over, the detail of the projects from Perkins and Will, but it's a total of those proposed projects. And then LT has been provided with the detail of all of those estimates and categories and backup for it.
You know what comes to mind, I would say that we really have neglected the tennis courts.
Yes,
Been here 8 years, we never, we didn't do anything.
we have neglected it, and we do need to put them on the list. We'll go back through that F&P refresh, and we'll add all those items and projects back to the list and just put in an order of magnitude.
Yeah,
And
really
then,
needs to be.
move forward from there.
You might consider too, parking lots, code striking already, it's new. Proviso East, it's already, the code is already fading away.
Yeah,
Cracks,
so,
and if you don't do something, we're gonna have to replace that with something.
yeah, so we had a great conversation about that, a month or so ago, Carl, about how long the striping lasts, and I kind of alluded to that I thought it should last longer than 4 years as well. But can you just speak to that for a minute?
Yeah, I don't have, I remember we did discuss that, but basically the expected life span of striping, depending on the thickness that's put down, makes the elastomeric paint, is about 5 years. And so it is something, kind of like at PMSA with the permanent pavers and the fill, something that just needs to be worked into the district maintenance plan to periodically restripe.
What's it cost to restrike the lot?
PMSA was 4,900, we signed them a few weeks ago, and I think East was 4,400, something like that. So it's on the radar to be completed this summer.
Yeah, the spring.
This spring.
Are they doing any seeding? Because I think I might have seen a crack or two.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely gonna take a look at that.
So we should work on notifications offline about parking while we have typing on this spring break.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything that we could do? I know when this drop off in the morning, it's just, it doesn't flow right for some reason.
At East?
Yeah, so people just park there and they don't move.
We-
Signs maybe like.
We purchased like 10 of those already. We had them on the curb, said,
Nothing.
please do not drop off on First Avenue.
Yeah, yeah.
I think what we need is a squad car sitting there, giving people tips.
Either that or lights that's funny.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
Yeah, so the East team has at least 10 of those wind signs, double-sided. Telling parents, please do not do that. But we can always extend Circle Drive, since we're talking about doing restoration work over there, and make it elongated and widen it up and make it for buses, cars, 4 lanes.
Have we studied that parking issue or
It was-
drop-off issue?
The renovation work to the Circle Drive was part of the FNP. So the scope was developed, and costs put to that. I don't have that information in front of me right now, but we can certainly bring that up from the FNP. And that was,
It was a 10-year one.
it was from the 10-year FNP,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they got the chair then.
Yep.
All right, can we go on?
Yep, sure.
Moving on to the district updates, we'll start with Proviso East. Over at Proviso East, there was an oilless compressor, the contactor on the far left was found defective, and Ted and also Al, they did a good job of securing the component, and also installing and completing the work. No further work is required at this time on this airless compressor at Proviso East. Moving on to some door repairs over at Proviso East. Preventative maintenance work was completed on the doors. This door is near the stairwell on the south side of the building. The pair of doors was lubricated, the locks were adjusted. Additionally, the door closer was tested and also was functioning as designed. No further work needed at this time on this set of doors. Painting project started about 3 weeks over at Proviso East. We started in the field house. We just wanted to refresh the paint, just beautify the place, to get ahead of spring break work. You see on the far left, that is door 31. That's also the stairwell 31 in the middle of the railings. We're using lasers over at Proviso East High School. Al and Tom is doing a great job making sure we take care of this work in a good manner, and we plan to finish this work around April 5th. Also over at Proviso East High School, lights was reported to be out in the evening school building, the woodshop building, and replaced quite a few lights, updated some light fixtures in the locker rooms on the far left. This work is ongoing, and we do plan to continue this work throughout the building. Moving on to Proviso West, we have some health and life safety compliance exit signs need to be installed. Lewis is doing a great job along with Sergio Niola, providing the training along with myself. This work was in-house completed, and we plan to keep this work going throughout the entire building so that we can ensure that there's illuminated signs throughout the building in the event that we need to exit the building. Also, Proviso West High School, we did preventative maintenance techniques on the administrative air handlers, greasing components. Also worked on the little theater and E111, the heat exchanger, and all the filtration devices was changed out, testing the balances. So there's no further work needed at this time on these units. Also over at Proviso West High School, the AM lab, the VRF system, was found to be defective, so we had to add 45 pounds worth of refrigerant into it so that the system can heat up. We also tested the unit at the coil, also tested the return supply and also the supply. The room is roughly 72 to 73 degrees. I want to make sure that those students have a decent space. But we do have a main issue with the VRF system. One of the heat exchangers is bad on the unit, which is causing the refrigerant to leak. We are working with Midwest Supply. We're hoping to have this work completed by April 15th. The rooftop unit over at Proviso West High School to service the kitchen. The main control was found to be defective, the circuit board and the voltage contactor. Those units were replaced. Everything was tested, put back into proper operation. We also tested pneumatic valves on the compressor and also tested the starter and changed the oil on the compressor. This is some great work done by the boiler team over at Proviso West. Moving on to the Math and Science Academy, the water filtration device in room 309 was found ruptured. Someone had been storing something underneath it and just gouging at the filtration device. Late in the evening, I received a phone call. The room was saturated. Got the team in place to isolate that, and a day or so afterwards, we added a brand new cartridge, put the system back into operation. This is that back kitchen on the east side of 309, if you are familiar with the space. No further work needed at this time in this space. Ongoing lighting, components being replaced throughout the corridors, a lot of our emergency lighting, also exit signs, lighting in room 309, and then on the far right, that's a ballast that we are swapping out to make sure that we have proper power to our bulbs in the corridors and the stairwells and having signs. Blower motor and also a capacitor, can you go back to one? Over in room 400, I believe it was. It was found defective around February 1. Corey did a great job jumping in and swapping out this motor, getting everything powered back up. There was no negative impact to the classroom. Everything went well. This room is back up and running. Just a few holes over here at the Math and Science Academy. Jeff did a great job finding some extra scrap wood to reinforce the drywall, the gypsum board. The gypsum board has been feathered out, painted. We will continue to reinforce areas that we know or that we find like this to make sure that it don't happen again. Over in room 404, it was reported that the blinds need to be evaluated. There was a few blinds in the space that, had deteriorated over time, and the strings was not 100% operational. So the team and I decided to replace all the blinds. There's about 44 blinds in this space, Mr. Mohill. This is a west elevation classroom, so in the late evenings, it gets plenty of natural light. So we do plan to continue that section of the building, and we need to jump into the main office area too to replace some blinds because we did evaluate all of them within the building. Also, over in math and science, we replaced a water cooler here at the PE area. It was found to be defective on the lower section. Instead of remedying just half of it, we just ripped it out and replaced a brand new device. This work was completed a few days ago. And also brand new lights, LED lights added to the shower areas and 2 locker rooms here at Math and Science Academy, just to make sure that we have proper light in there for the students and the staff. Staff uses these spaces very early in the mornings, and the students use these spaces in the late afternoons. Moving on to the spring break duties, we plan to keep painting in classrooms, stairwells, and the corridors. We're gonna do some bathroom sanitizing and some floor care. We do plan to do some MEP preventative maintenance to support the upcoming cooling season. It's pretty happy to say that we only got about 6 to 8 weeks before it gets really warm. Looking forward to it. Transportation vehicles will be detailed over spring break to be ready by April 7th when students return. Our groundwork will start outside on all 3 campuses, weather permitting, of course, throughout spring break and for the remainder of the year. Orkin will be on site to do a mass baiting throughout our kitchens, our custodial kitchens, our cafeterias, culinary spaces, our tunnels, and also provide some geese control on the exterior portion of Proviso West on the south elevation of the property, and also in the interior senior circle area where geese love to congregate and cause issues for our students. AED update, we had a great exercise a few weeks ago. Thanks to Mr. Brown and Mr. Mohit for pushing us on this. We have all our devices at Math and Science Academy completely replaced. We have electronic log back up to date. I need to share a link with the superintendent of schools and assistant superintendent of operations and HR so they can see this in real time. You notice the Math and Science Academy has 6 units. Proviso East has 19 units. Proviso West has 15 units. We do plan to add 3 more units to Proviso West, 2 more units to Proviso East, and 1 more unit for the Math and Science Academy. Any questions about the updates?
Questions?
Yes, thank you. That's all I have.
That's it. New business. I guess my suggestion would be maybe with the new board members coming in April, maybe you want to give them the Proviso East some information, and of course after we have discussed with finance, I think we have a good chance of getting that passed if we have the finances with the new board members when they're ready to work. So that's just my advice. Other than that, I'd like to thank everyone. This is actually my last meeting. I am not running for re-election on the time from the board, not from the community, but from the board, and I would just like to thank everyone here. And I'm sure you'll be in good hands with ILT, Chris here, Walden, and Alex here. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'll dedicate my time to maybe doing something else.
Yeah, come on.
Get more training or something. I'll get my PhD, who knows. Yeah.
Thanks for everything, Sam.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll adjourn and,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Adjourn at
6 months.
6 months.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great